Everybody, welcome to the blog today. It looks like people are taking a better look into Zoom. So I was reading an article, and of course, I'll always post that article about the fact that the New York Attorney General is looking into the security practices of Zoom. And as you guys know, that there's been an uptick because we're all, working from home, a lot of us are working from home if we're not essential. And we use, that's one of the platforms that have been used. I mean, even though the stock market is crazy, Zoom stock has doubled, I think. And so they're now being questioned. It's being questioned about their security practices. The question of whether or not it is actually encrypted from end to end. Because there was this uptick in things called Zoom bombing. Zoom bombing is people, going to random Zoom meetings and actually getting access and doing posting bad stuff, whether it be racist stuff, whether it be, anti-Semitic stuff. And you're seeing an uptick in those activities because everybody's sort of using that platform, or this one of the platforms that many organizations use. And it seems that they're now in trouble not only with the New York Attorney General, and they're looking into their privacy practices. There actually is a class action lawsuit against Zoom, basically saying that they failed to implement the proper privacy protocols. Essentially, they were gathering personal information and sending it to Facebook. And of course, under the CCPA, these class action lawsuits are under CCPA, California Consumer Protection Act. And Zoom is I think it's a California-based company as well. And so they were collecting data, personal information, without necessarily informing the user what they were doing with it and then selling it to Facebook. Now, they said they since deleted that feature. I think even in the iOS version of the Zoom, it transferred, and they said with an update that actually went away. But of course, it's not an automatic update. Zoom said they deleted that capability. It's not automatic. And it doesn't address the fact that they were doing it before this feature was updated. So those California citizens that were that had their information transmitted to Facebook without consent, that they still have a actual cause of action, or they can still file a lawsuit based on these practices. So it's really interesting. And it's always, as you're growing up, so to speak, you're an organization and you're growing up, and, Zoom is going along, not thinking about the coronavirus at all. And, of course we have this, we have end-to-end encryption, we have all of these features, not thinking that now you have this uptick in people using this, and now some of those, there could be some cracks in the foundation, and whether or not you say what you say you're doing and what you're doing is now going to be tested, right? And that now the microscope is on you, because the New York Attorney General New York and California are both asking questions, and you have to provide that necessary information, not just a privacy policy or a security policy. They're going to ask you poignant questions about what you're actually doing. So now it's going to be tested on whether or not you've actually done what you say you're going to do. And the problem is, of course, now it's a hindsight thing, right? Now they're looking at it. Now you have the experts saying what you should have been doing, or what you've known you should have been doing and you're not doing, or you may or may not be doing. So even though you could have an information security policy and a privacy policy, now they're starting to look at operating procedures and processes behind those policies to determine whether or not it's really meets industry best practices. And so that's always a question. And when you start to get that audit, which is what it is, they're going with a microscope and they're looking at it, and they're going to pick and choose at, okay, so end-to-end encryption, what does that mean? What level of encryption does that mean? Is that tunnel that's actually literally end-to-end when they're on the platform? And those questions are going to be asked. And how are you securing it on the back end? And do you have monitoring? And all of these things are now going to start being asked where you put yourself out there as this platform that's able to offer these features. Now, in our random thought, I'll give you guys some tips on how to secure your own Zoom meetings. But again, now all of your security practices are going to be under microscope, and you have to justify the decisions that you've made. And unfortunately, here we go, reactive cybersecurity and privacy, right? Data privacy and data security reacting to, what they said they were doing initially, but this is a reaction. Now this is a knee jerk. Now it's found out that the iOS feature was actually sending stuff to Facebook without anybody's consent because people are using it. And then don't get me started. I mean, even schools are using this. School districts are using Zoom, and it's been touted as something that can be used, but you're sharing data, right? And you could be sharing children's data. And so all of those things are now, going on for a company that was just going along trying to get market share, trying to be the best. And now, boom, you have this demand. This demand is high, and it's just like, okay, so now we got to go back and bolt in some things. Maybe I'm not saying that Zoom. It'll be interesting to watch, especially that class action lawsuits. It's two of them. I'm sorry, the two out of California. It'll be interesting to watch what in the future, what is found out during those lawsuits, and don't, if the FDA, I'm sorry, listen to me, I'm too much thinking about the coronavirus. If the FTC gets in and they now think that there's something there, that's also something now you're going to have to start answering questions, because I think our world is changed. I think that this virus has allowed us to think about the feasibility of individuals working remotely, but also securing and using the necessary technologies to ensure that the information is protected as we are now conducting these remote sessions. And I mean, I don't even know the children's privacy aspect of it. It's going to be interesting to follow and to watch, because I mean, it's not a platform made for children. Is it being marketed as ed tech to the teachers, right? And then can the teachers now consent for the parents? Because collecting children's data is my right, not yours. And Zoom is a platform is not for, technically communication in the education space, but it's being used for that. So now how do you handle those privacy concerns if you know that a school system has a version of that and they are, K through 12, and you have minors, and how do you go about? So maybe, Zoom didn't necessarily have to worry about it until today, and now they have to worry about it. So I'm sure their internal security and privacy and legal teams and everybody else is trying to figure out how in the world can we now market and know that this school system is using our platform, or this, I'm collecting minors' data and I'm sending it to Facebook. That becomes an issue. And so fascinating things to be watching in the space. If you're using Zoom, stay tuned for our random thought. All right, bye-bye. Is it time for your annual wellness check? Cybersecurity and privacy programs, once implemented, can't get stale. It's very important that you take a look at those at least on a regular basis or semi-regular basis to ensure that you are complying with industry best practices, that there haven't been any laws implemented in your state that actually affects what you're doing from a day-to-day perspective. Whether it's, trying to figure out, do I need cyber liability insurance, and what kind of insurance should I purchase? So it's very important to take a look at those programs. If you need a wellness check, please reach out to the Cybersecurity Law Firm of Texas for help. All right, guys, random thought for today, because I just did the random thought and did not hit record. So we're going to do this again, take two. We were talking about Zoom, and we were talking about 5 things that you could potentially do to add some security features to your Zoom meetings to prevent unauthorized people from getting access and doing something silly like, Zoom bombing your meeting. So of course, one of the first thing I'll put the article in the link. It was a very good article, actually. 5 tips that the individual gave to try to secure your sessions or your meetings. Disable guest screen share. That will definitely prevent the Zoom bombing of putting offensive photos up as you're trying to have this meeting. If you actually have the host themselves the only person able to share screen, that's a good thing. You require number 2, require the host to be present. Of course, that works. Sometimes we turn off that feature because if somebody's running late, we don't want everybody waiting for us. But if you're concerned about unauthorized people being on that call, just say only I can actually start the call, because then that prevents someone coming on and Zoom bombing you and getting out, right? Keep your personal meeting ID private. Again, user ID, password. We'll get to the password in a minute, but you don't want to put that online. It's easy for anybody to find and join any meeting that you're hosting if you put that personal meeting ID out there. And you want to have that situation in there. Of course, use a password. That goes without saying. Password protect everything, and you can understand password, passcode, whatever, to get access to that individual meeting. And there's a waiting room feature with Zoom that you can actually just have everybody wait in the waiting area before you actually let them in the meeting. Now, that could be simple for smaller gatherings, but as you get larger and larger, that could be unmanageable. Manually going in and allowing people in that meeting. So I just wanted to throw those 5 tips out there. Hopefully you guys are being safe out there. This is, like I said, the tips for Zoom. I use a couple other platforms. I'm not a user of Zoom unless it's someone else. I'm using it to someone else. But definitely turn on some of those security features. You want to prevent any of the shenanigans that are going on out there now that people don't have anything more to do than to sit at home and play around on the internet. So be safe out there and be careful, and we'll talk again soon. Guys, have a great day. Bye-bye. Guys, thanks again for listening to the Breach Whisperer blog, sponsored by the cybersecurity law firm of Texas. Don't forget to like this post and subscribe to our channel so you can get updates of when we post new things on our channel. In addition, spread the word for me, right? Let's get out there and tell a friend, and so they can all become paranoid cybersecurity and privacy people. Don't forget, if you would like to connect with me on socials, you can connect with me on Twitter at Mary N. Cheney. Use my middle initial always. For my nonprofit, Minorities in Cybersecurity, that is at Mike Leadership, and Instagram and Facebook at MN Cheney Law. And you can find me on LinkedIn just by searching for my name. So if you're interested, connect with me. Thanks again. And just remember, awareness equals knowledge.